Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to a really tired Shorty here. We're back from gather round and holy fuck, it was a trek on the way back. Got home at 3 a.m. last night, reckless scenes. It was always half in the plans. We were thinking about just watching the Cats game and heading straight home, taking that 8 or so hour drive back to Geelong. But I said to the old man, I was like, why don't we just stay at Horsham halfway? Just Sunday night, let's drive 4 hours. Just, I think we're going to get back at about 2 or 3 a.m, mate. There's fucking kangaroos bouncing around. We're tired. I mean, come on. Anyway, the overall consensus from the crew was, no, let's just gun it. We'll get home. It's better to be in your own bed, etc. Don't have to drive on Monday. I was like, okay. But man, I was so tired now. We broke the driving up into, sort of 1.5, 2 hour blocks. And I switched over to like Skipton or something like that. And I swear I was the only part of the trip that had kangaroos hopping around. I got in the car and it was about probably 1 a.m. at this point. And nothing too much scary. Well, that's not true. There is a lot more scarier things. But in terms of driving, not much more scarier than just feeling like a roo could jump out at any time. Then you see one just jumping along the side. You're like, motherfucker, do not jump out. And I was like, shit, I'm driving like 70 Ks here because I do not want a roo coming through the windscreen here, bro. But good trip overall. It was good fun. Plenty of laughs, plenty of banter, a few beverages. Caught up with the mate as well who did the podcast with Janeth as well. So shout out to you, mate. We are teamed up on DR's swordplay video with Spills as well. So good fun. Good to meet him, and definitely we'll have to get stuck into another podcast soon too, mate. But I don't think I've told this story either, but just like on terms of talking about Adelaide and drives back, I might have told her, I can't remember, but I'll give you the somewhat short version. But we went to a showdown, me and my mates. I must have told her, but like 3-4 years ago, whatever it was. And on the way back, again, we're pretty tired, but it's nowhere near those hours that I witnessed last night. But we're driving back and we switched drivers at Horsham. And no one was really concentrating. Like, it was just like, fuck, we're so tired, let's just get home. Anyway, we take off from the servo after swapping drivers, off we go. And I'm in the front, and I'm just sort of like, the other two boys watching footy in the back or a bit tired, snoozing, and I'm like, fucking like 200, 300 Ks to Mildura. That's weird. Don't normally see that sign. And I'm like, boys, get the maps up. We're on our way to Mildura. This was about 15, 20 minutes in. I'm like, fucking hell, mate. All right, Jesus, okay, let's. I'm glad we checked. All right, let's turn this ship around. Probably just lost 30-odd minutes, whatever. And we go down this. We just put it into Google Maps, and we just turned right. Cool, it'll correct it. And little did I know that apparently in the country, there are some roads that you should not drive in winter. It was even a sign that we saw later in the day. I don't know what it said, like, do not drive in winter or some shit like that. Like, the road just gets wet, muddy. Anyway, I remember driving down this road and we're kind of like, oh, it's a bit sketchy. Before we knew it, we're like sliding off to the side. My mate's gone like to turn right and he kept going left. I was like, oh, shit, we're in some serious trouble here. And yeah, got bogged like you would never believe. Oh, it's crazy. I think we were trending to get home at about 9:30, 10. We ended up getting home about 12:30. And I remember my mate had a job interview in Melbourne the next day. So brutal. He got the job in the end. But, crazy. We ended up trying to wave people down. They said, look, mate, you're probably just going to have to call the RACV. We called them. They're like 50 minutes away. Like, shit, whatever. And then out of nowhere, this farmer just comes over. He's like, boys, like, what's going on? And he ends up getting his massive ass tractor, dragging us out, like just flinging my mate's car around. Like, it was ridiculous. Just whacked something on the end of it and just bang, got us out. But it was a trial, and times were tense. Like, it's funny to look back on now, but in the moment, there was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of tension between the boys. Because, like I said, we made a job interview. We really, by the end of a trip, you just sort of, like, you've had fun, but you pretty much just want to get home. And you're like, fuck, we're going to get home late. Can't wait to get into bed, have a nice shower. When it gets delayed by what ended up being 3 odd hours. But for a lot of that, we were like, fuck, what if we have to, like, get a cab back to Horsham, stay in Horsham, deal with this the next day. Like, what if the car gets, I don't know, what if it's fucked? Like, I don't even know, but it was crazy times. Luckily, there was none of that last night. We got home in one piece. But how are we tracking for time here? Look, in terms of the footy, I feel like it was a frustrating week. Obviously, I was at Gather Round and just wasn't honed in on SuperCoach. I'm not a big checker of the scores throughout the week anyway, because it tends to just stress me the fuck out if it's not going overly well. But just trying to keep it to watching footy. But my feel is behind the 8 ball. Some carnage, some dodged, some not. Man, I turned the TV off on Thursday night too. I was furious. So we left on Friday morning. And, you know, I feel like this is one of my philosophies, right? Philosophies even. We have so many teams basically the same. Like, it's so hard to find a point of difference. So you tend to get, like, trending moves, you know? So, and there's teams that you just know have the large amount of these players. So you can kind of get a feel for where you sit on the overall throughout a week. If, like, say when Gawn went down, you're like, okay, advantage me. I don't have Gawn. Some people are suffering. Or if you have a point of difference, so you get that play that you've got somewhat point of difference, he scores 160. You're like, okay, advantage me. Or, you know, like on Thursday night, I didn't go Dawson. I'm watching him tear it apart. Disadvantage me. That's when you just get that feel of, like, they're the little things that just change your overall rank when you miss out on, you know, someone gets subbed off, or you get that 40 and maybe your mate had him on the bench, or you miss out on that 170 on the VC. They're just the little things that make a whopper difference in terms of the ranking, I feel. So throughout the week, I'm always like, where am I sitting in that overall scheme of, like, advantage to disadvantage of the overall? But yeah, I cracked it Thursday night. I mean, I wouldn't have changed the move because it made financial sense, and I won't be able to do certain things that I want to do this week if I did pay the extra coin. But watching Dawson go nuts, plus I tipped the Blues, I was like, fuck this. I don't often get that pissed off watching footy, but I was like, fuck it. I'm not watching it with anyone tonight. This is so frustrating, and I try my best to not get super pissed off for the overall footy experience just because of one player in SuperCoach. But occasionally it still gets me. And it got me Thursday night in amongst the tip that was like a 50-50 tip. So anyway. Oh, that's right. So subscriber kick. We've already had a few comments on that. If you want to get along, there's all the info. We've got a little map screenshot. So next Sunday, would love to see you there. We'll just have a bit of kick of the footy. Bring your footy if you want. I'll probably have, like, maybe a footy or two. But yeah, definitely bring your own footy. And, yeah, talk a bit of shit. We'll do a bit of filming, so that'll be cool. And also going live Wednesday. Yeah, let's go Wednesday at 7:30. I think that'll probably be the main slot. Still, you know, it's up for debate, but that is what we will do, I think. Now, let's have a look at the side. A little bit hesitant. Any week's a good week when you move up in the rankings. I'm anticipating a slight drop, but let's have a look. Be good to me. Be good to me. If the internet wants to kick in, come on, be good to me. Fuck yes, mate. That is good. That is good, baby. All right, we're rolling. We're fucking rolling, mate. That's good stuff. Into the top 5,000. I did not. That is a win. That's an absolute win. I'm really pleased with that because sometimes, like I said, you just get a sense that you're a bit behind. But that is an absolute weight off the shoulders. Did I win draft? One draft easy there. Why can I not drag this down? Anyway, let's just focus in on Classic for now. We'll deal with that later. So that's pretty handy. Still got I'm trading pretty hard, and I'll keep that going because I think I'm going to bring in Sinclair this week. I'll talk a little bit about my rough trade idea, but hey, smidgen under 2,300, take that every day of the week early in the season. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of it and see how this score got formulated. There were definitely some ups and downs, but tough luck, mate. Bugger you, bro. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about myself. Wow, Jinby 51. That is nuts. See, at the game, I was like, oh, man, he's struggling. But then I looked at his stats before and A lot of tackles for like a half a footy, basically, and a lot of inside work, which sometimes you miss at the game. But 51, it's not ideal because he got subbed off, but I will take it. He goes up in price, and it's time for him to go off the back of a 40 and a 51. And he might be getting a bit sore, getting subbed off. I know he copped a whopper poke to the eye as well, which is never good. Dacos, Stewart going nicely. I know Dawson went bonkers, but hey, it's always nice when Stewart can also produce a really good score. And I was really pleased with just the solidness of my rookies. I just, at this point in time, I don't want any disasters. Mackenzie obviously was sub, but I don't want any disasters. I don't want any 30s or 40s. Just keep ticking that cash over. And Michael Aney's able to do that. McKenna, I actually, again, watching the game at the pub, I thought he scored better. 55 is not a disaster, but he too is in that conversation for once he gets over 300k, we might just part ways. Liam Jones, good response. And that's one of those ones where you give a little mini fist pump to yourself, because I know a lot of people traded him out. I'll be trading him out soon, but it is just nice to get a little reinforcement on that cash generation. Plus he pumps out basically a 90 and was really intercepting well. Wilmot's just a real lock for anything between 50 and 70, which is a slow burn for cash, but a good, reliable option. Cowan, Spills, there was no 51, mate, but he tried 42. And look, this is where I was pleased, right? Clayton Oliver, and I said it on the podcast, I was like, fuck, if Oliver doesn't get 120 plus, I think I'm going to go Marshall. And I was a bit nervous. I thought he could get 160, but he could get 75. So I was really pleased. I know it's the small wins that make the difference, but 123 from Marshall, very happy, played well. As he should have against the Collingwood outfit with no ruckman, basically. But Oliver was just crazy scenes with 42-20 in the last quarter is ridiculous. I had him for 30 plus in one of my multis. I think he had 11 at halftime. I was like, geez. I mean, anything's possible, but man, it looks like Setterfield's giving him a bit of attention. This could be tough, but anyway. Fuck, Bontempelli. That was wild. So he was insane in the first half and must have had 100-odd points in the first half, because I thought in the second half he was just okay. But holy shit, take that every day of the week. Luke Davies-Uniacke and Tom Green. Tom Green's an interesting one. So his numbers are good, but I'm not sure he is correlating to what we sort of call a SuperCoach player. You know what I mean? Those guys that, like Bontempelli, he'll always have more SuperCoach points than his AFL fantasy. Now, I don't know what Tommy Green's averaging in AFL fantasy, but I would imagine it's probably more than 107, if not roughly the same. But these last 4 weeks haven't been bad. He's playing good footy. So there you go. Yeah, basically the same. And what we would like, I know it's not always an easy science to work it out, but if you look at someone like Marcus Bontempelli, who is always regarded, as we know, as someone who doesn't need much of the footy to really score big Supercoach points. I would imagine, what's he averaging? 117 there? I bet you his AFL fantasy is in the early 100s. I don't know. 98. There you go. It just shows how damn effective and the impact he has on the game. So it's not panic stations for Green, but you'd like a big one around the corner. And hey, if about as low as he can go is in the early mid-90s, then that ain't too bad, because he will have those games where he goes 130. But Luke Davies-Uniacke, brought him in after a stellar start to the year. He hasn't quite returned to that best. Was going well, started the game well, and then just sort of went out of it as the game went on. Hopper was a delight, which really warms my heart, because again, he was a guy that many people did trade, and now he's going to find his way probably beyond the 450 mark, which is just super helpful. Will Ashcroft, really, really solid. Just, again, he's the sort of guy that you feel like he can never score less than 70, and you'd get the feeling that 100's just around the corner. Will Phillips, again, was really promising, and we wish Jai Simpkin well, but hey, that certainly helps Will Phillips' cause to get into that centre bounce a little bit more. Thought he started the game really well, like many North players. Snagged himself a goal, 74, great stuff. Oscar Baker, it was a tough day for a bloke like him. It was pouring rain. He's an outside running type. So I'll take 53, to be honest, because they're the sort of days that can be a disaster. Similar to Judd McVee, I'll take 63 every day of the week, because he's a smaller body, outside back pocket type. But he actually was pretty good in the clinches. Tim English, ridiculous scenes. He just continues to do it. So even though I went Marshall for skipper, my other options were Bontempelli and English, and I would have been better off with them. But hey, I ain't complaining with the 123 as skipper. Dacos was probably the other one. So you could read it two ways. I was happy with the Marshall call because it's a little point of difference, but it was probably the worst of four options by about 4 to 15 points or whatever it is. But, that's all a bit of fun. Josh Dunkley was great to see him bounce back to some really good form. He'd been okay without being great. Taranto, really good. I thought Rosie actually played better than a 93, but still really good. Goulden, I'll take 88 because at the game I felt like he just didn't use the ball well. So 88 will work. His long kicking game and the way he just plays footy, he's in that Bontempelli mould. I would imagine, let's see if this can work live. My typing can be outrageous. So I'm going to say that he's averaging 99 in the old SuperCoach. I would imagine his AFL fantasy is in the mid-80s. He seems like that effective type. 93. So still effective. Maybe I didn't give him enough credit for how much pill he's winning. Zeeble, good. Really like that role. He's just cruising around, taking kick-outs, just doing his thing. Rock solid for anywhere from 90 to 110. And Sheasel just had an off game, scored 100. I mean, that's his lowest score of the year, I think. I think there's a bit of an injury cloud as well, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And similar, like I said, Van Rooyen, 52, mate, that's a golden win. It was pouring rain for a key forward, a young one at that, in a loss. I will take that 100%. So yeah, that is a wrap of the team. I'll just quickly touch on my trade thoughts and a few players to really look out for and bring into your team. Now, James Sicily, not this week, but next. He's got a break even about 150. Jack Sinclair, he'll come into my team. He's not lighting the world on fire, but I think he plays better off half-back. I saw him in quite a few centre bounces, and I know we often think centre bounces equals better points, but I think he plays better when Jack Steele's in the team and he just goes to half-back. So he's got a break even about 113. I think I'm going to go Jinby to him, and I'll probably need a little bit of extra cash. So I think Dylan Williams, who I know he hasn't been scoring amazing, but I actually really like his role. He's a nice left foot kick, just going to play sort of half back pocket and just get involved. I think 60s and 70s are really possible for him. Cornelio, just look, if he ends up being your F6, the bloke is way better than what he's producing at the moment. He's the opposite to what we're talking about. He is struggling to be effective and using the ball well and all that stuff that we talk about in SuperCoach. So definitely this will back me up. I'm confident in that. He's averaging 96 in this. His AFL fantasy will be 3 figures for sure. Maybe not. 97. I was really confident on that. Fuck. Anyway, you get my point. He should be scoring better. He's winning a lot of the ball, but he is not translating it to good scores. And look, I'm going to throw Andrew Brayshaw out there. I mean, he is going to be around your early 500s. And I don't know what's going on. I'd like to watch him for a full game. Something's off. But I do think, hey, if Andy Brayshaw is your M8, I still see him as a bloke who'd average 110 for a prolonged period of time throughout a season. So, I'm thinking probably Davey down to Williams and then Jimby up to Sinclair with the thought of probably McKenna or Michael Laney going up to Sicily in the week after. And I've sort of just earmarked Hopper to be a sideways trade to Cornelio whenever that time is right, even though Hopper's outscoring him sort of at the last few weeks. But I'm looking a bit more long-term for that one. That's a wrap. Plenty in that one, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'll be back live, like I said, on Wednesday night. And, would love to see you along for a kick next week on the Sunday. Been cut off, boys. Cut off there. But, I'll be back. Preview throughout the week. On my TikTok, I'll show my trades. And, we'll be going live. We'll be having a kick on Sunday. Shorty's on holidays this week. Things are going all right. So, have a good week. Would love to hear your questions. I'll try and get to them when I can. Talk to you soon. Cheers, guys.